everyone, we are back with the second episode of Campus One on One. I'm your host, Stacey Wasiche. I'm sure if you've gotten time to watch our previous episode, you have learned one or two things about campus, where we talked about the do's and the don'ts, and what it's maybe necessary to be in campus or maybe not for you. It depends with how you look at it. Uh, Usually when we come in campus, we have to find a place to reside because most of us are traveling miles away from home. We don't have families around, so we have to definitely find a roof on top of our heads. Where do we reside? That's the question. Most of us tend to reside in hostels, uh, apartments. If you've seen at the trend, look at the trend. That's what we usually go for. Depending on the affordability and availability of the residents. So here on the show today, we are going to talk about hostels because those are the most available and the most affordable residents that we can find here when we are away from home. On the show, I have two guests with me, Elvis and Daisy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
How can you tell us about comfortability and safety in campus?
In terms of comfortability, I think everything is okay because we the number of students that stay in hostels we only two, so it's comfortable. There's privacy as well, but when you get to the safety part, it's not that safe because there was a scenario that happened like some weeks back. there was a guy. There was a guy. I don't know if he was a student or what. He came to the hostels around 12 midnight. He came, he was drunk, he came with a bottle. So like he wanted, actually he was a rapist. He wanted to find he was checking on the washrooms to find any girl and maybe checking on the rooms that were not locked to maybe get that cheeky get. So fortunately there was a girl who saw him, I mean, and he screamed and the soldiers came and they took the guy. I think he's in custody, not sure, but in terms of safety, not that well.
According to ladies, it's not safe
Sure,
because
sure,
sometimes people can just show up in
sure.
the room. What about you, Elvis? Why don't you tell us uh, what exactly it's like to be in a hostel and you are a man?
For me, I would say in terms of comfortability, especially in the men's section, I would say it's comfortable. Being also how they segment the resources for people let's say a room. Like for the men's hostel, we usually have like four people in one room, where you have four cabins catering for all the four. Members will be in that room. You also have four chairs, and you also have a study table. So in terms of comfortability, which also results it's also into cleanliness, I would say they're really doing a good job because not most of the cleaning is done by the students, it's done by the staffs who delegated that any task of doing that. So in terms of comfortability, I would say they're really trying. mm, Based on safety issues, I would say we're not that bad because the incidents that we have had about theft issues and all that stuff, didn't come from the external environment. It actually came from where us, maybe a person from another room comes to your room, maybe when you're not there, maybe let's say you went to shower and maybe steals. But I've never had an incident where an external person coming inside and stealing. It's just within. So I can say in terms of safety, yes, they're really trying. It's not that bad, but it's not also that good. So we're in between that line.
Okay, how will you account for the security factors in a campus hostel? Because we are both aware that the school provide the most of the security around the whole university. So what would you say about safety in those hostels? Like, would you get to lose your items? Yeah.
Clothes, clothes maybe, but when it comes to electronics, you have to be very cautious about them. There's no point you leave the room, leaving your electronic gadgets, and you expect to find them, especially if you've not left anyone in the room. be sure that someone can actually duplicate your key. You know, those are the incidents where we get whereby people steal from you. So someone can duplicate, come into your room, and you know, when I notice someone entering a certain room which I'm not from that room, I'll just assume that that's just a friend or someone who actually lives there. So I think with electronic gadgets, you have to be very careful because we have had a lot of incidents where people are losing their electronic gadgets. So in terms of clothing, maybe it's not that paramount, but with gadgets, you have to be very extra careful.
Well, when you talk about living with people, how is it like to when you decide like you want to bring a boyfriend over to your hostel? Yeah, because definitely you have roommates, you have people that you're staying with. Is it really possible to have a boyfriend come over to your place, or maybe a girlfriend come over to your place and maybe stay there like for the time that you need them to be there? Because let's not lie to each other, we're big people, we do these things, we have boyfriends over. So how is it possible, and how do your roommates take it?
Okay, it depends on how you're going to understand. You and your roommate are going to understand each other, because you'll find some roommates, they don't tolerate such, like giving someone exile. They don't do that. So maybe you just go outside, get somewhere, and do your things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perhaps you should maybe tell us if you have like a boyfriend over, is it really okay? Because there are people who are maintaining the hostels. You know, there are people that are accommodating you in the hostels. Are they going to be okay with the fact that you have a boyfriend over?
No.
No.
First of all, I've been to the girls' hostel and they usually have an issue. Even so, having your boyfriend over, let's put in a scenario whereby he's staying for a long period of time, maybe not the whole day, but during the time he'll be there, he'll have to use the washrooms. So I've had an incident where I tried to access the girls' hostel, and I met with the person who was in charge, and he told me that that was not appropriate because you can maybe accidentally meet someone who is a lady of the opposite sex who may be doing their things, and that will not be appropriate. So I think, in terms of having your boyfriend or girlfriend in your hostel, first of all, you should respect people's privacy. Yes, you're not living alone. You're living with people, and I believe, as a man of class, a hostel, basically, yes, in a school setup, maybe it might fit because you don't have other ways, you don't have another place you can take your girlfriend to. So it should be based on agreement with your roommates on whether I can bring someone, and also if I can have privacy. So if you guys can excuse yourself to give me time with my person, it has to be an agreement. But just rushing into a decision and bringing someone where you have to exile your fellow members of the room, it will sound disrespectful because you are invading their space. Yeah, it's your space, but also it involves them also. So I think in one way or another, it's not right unless you have some agreement on how to do it, and also if it's okay with your partner to come. Will she be comfortable, or will he be comfortable with that?
So would you advise people that want to come in campus, or people like me that are staying outside school? Is it like okay to stay outside school, or would you advise them to have a place in a hostel? Because what you will say that hostels are more much the safety is okay, because at least the school is responsible for your safety, and you know that my things are somewhere you can find them, and payment is a little bit cheaper compared to renting outside. So would you advise someone to rather live in the apartments or stay in a hostel?
Okay, it depends with the one. Some people love staying alone because privacy as well. Because when you stay in the rooms, you don't stay alone. You stay with people. So it will depend with what one wants.
Yeah, for me, I would say it also, first of all, that one depend with the person where you want to have some privacy, or you love living with people. The second thing, as a newcomer into the campus, I would really advise, if you're a fresher starting school, first just enroll into the settings of the school hostel so that you can adapt to the environment, so that you can know which area is more comfortable or more suitable in terms of safety, also in terms of the economy there, so that when you move outside, you're very, you are very, the environment well, because you're being told, you can't just, let's assume you're from Kisumu, you move to Thika where the main campus is, and immediately you enroll into the school, but you move outside. you move to a place where you don't know how things run here, whether the safety is good, because maybe you've not had maybe like a rumor or something, or even a friend has warned you about the issue. So I think if you're a newcomer starting school, you've enrolled, you're a fresher, I think it's very suitable for you to first be in the setup of the boys' hostel. Maybe like let's say like a year, when you like maneuver around the environment to see where you will fit best, especially if you are someone who wants to have their own privacy before making the any such decision. So for me, if you're a fresher, kindly start with the hostel, then you can move outside if that's the plan you have. But may believe it's possible to maintain being in the boys' hostel because it's not something hard.
We don't usually have the same values, we don't have the same personality. When we come to stay together, there are things that we look over, or even we look up to with our friends or our roommates. When you have an altercation with your roommates, maybe you don't speak for like 3 days. How safe are you? How do you like know that your things are safe? Because you stay in the same place and you have the same place to store your items. How do you know that these things are safe? And how do you later on solve your differences?
I think something that I'll advise people when you start staying with someone new, you at least don't get free with her first. At least get to know her, know how he acts when mad, like her moves. You get before you start like being free with her, leaving your things there, safe with her. Yeah, at least you should at least get to know how he is.
Okay, Elvis. What considerable factor when you are trying to find a resident to stay or a place to stay in campus? What is the first thing that you'll have to put in your mind?
One thing, finance. First of all, you have to think of the finance because not everyone is capable of living outside there. And one thing you will always notice with the let's say like the living conditions that are offered outside here, they're really expensive because they know these houses will be accessed by the student because we have a school here. So basically, the prices will be high, especially if you want to live closer to the school because of the issue of commuting. So first of all, finance. You have to think of the finance. If you're capable of paying outside, it's okay if your parents can afford it. But if they can't, I think because when you live, especially with the setup in our school, because other hostels, like let's say in public universities, they usually have this tendency where you eat at the mess. But for us, you're given meals every day. So once you've paid, you're assured a day that you'll not miss a meal. But let's put it in a situation whereby you're in a public university. If maybe your upkeep money is like it's over, like sometimes you'll miss a meal because you cannot afford. So I think hostel, especially in our school here, it's really important because you're assured you not miss a meal, and also financial wise, it's fair, being that you're given all meals, allow for you're there for like a whole month and all that stuff. So I think finance, also safety, because I don't believe there's any theft cases that it's really hard, especially like if uh, there was a time where there was an incident where a thief was caught, but he could not get out of these premises because the security is tight. Yes, the security here might not be that tight, but getting outside the school difficult. So you are sure of safety, from the external environment. So those are the two key things I will point out that are really important when you want to evaluate whether to move into a hostel or otherwise live outside.
Okay, Daisy, you have stayed in hostel for the longest time for sure. Uh, if you're given a second chance, would you uh, consider coming back to staying in a hostel, or would you rather find an apartment somewhere?
Okay, for me, I think I'm comfortable inside. Okay. Yeah, because we're being cooked. Okay, it depends with me. Yeah. um, Whenever I have the morning classes, I normally take a long time to prepare. So I normally think like if I'll be staying outside, I'll really be getting late for the classes. So at least inside you have breakfast ready in time. So you just shower, take your breakfast, and you're on time when you go to class. Yeah, so I'm okay with it.
Maybe to add on to what she said, maybe not agree. For me, I would not say right now I live in the hostel. I shifted, but my main reason was not because of, oh, I didn't love the time. The time was good because I could make the class like in time and all that stuff. But one thing that really made it hard for me to actually want to live in the hostel for the longest time was that I had this issue. The people I was placed with in the same room in my first semester were different from the people in the second semester and the third one. So my main reason was each and every time trying to adapt to new people, trying to connect with people, because when you are in a setup where you're in the same room, these are people you see every day. There's a way you will connect and you'll see yourself as brothers. But in this situation, every new semester you have to meet new people, connect to new people. So I think that was really making me disconnect from people and thinking that, yeah, I might connect to you guys, but the next semester you not be here, because me, I was really comfortable staying in the hostel until I clear. But I think that was one of the main reasons why I opted to move out. Not that issues to do with safety, the food is not good, because I was okay with it. But basically, that part of social life with people I was connecting to made me opt out. But if I could maintain the same people as from day one, I think I would still be living in the hostel because I think it suited me better. I have more time to work on my school activities, and yeah, my timing was just okay.
How do you feel when you transition from one semester to another with different people? Like you have to change your roommates, you have to change your hostel mates. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like it's quite a hard time to do so?
Okay, so far it hasn't affected me because I've retained my roommate since I joined. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's why.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. It's not easy because for me, I remember the first people I was with. They were really close to me. In fact, I used to regard them as my bros, man. Because I knew, even though I don't get to meet anyone outside there, I will come back to my room and I'll find three people waiting for me to make stories and that. And it reached a time where I have to connect with new people who, to be honest, some people are really hard to deal with. The first people, it was easy because you are all new, whatever. And this time, I'm like, let's say I'm like one semester or maybe 1 year in front of these new people coming into the room. And, having to connect with such people, you're not like everyone, and not everyone will like you. So it was hard for me. I think that basis, it's not all about knowing someone. It's actually kuwavumilia. Some situations you don't have to understand everyone. It's just putting up with them and continue living your life because you're not there for the longest time. You're just there for a period, and that period will, at the end of it Aisha too.
Okay, guys, that's all we had for you today for our show, Campus 101 on Matters Resident. As you've heard from our guests, that one thing to consider when you are trying to find a place to reside in campus is affordability, because most of us sometimes want our space, like the way Daisy has mentioned it. We want our space and we don't want to live with people. So it depends with affordability and your personality too. What do you like? What do you prefer? Yeah. Thank you so much for honoring our invite. Thank you so much for coming to Campus 101 show. I'm sure after watching this video, you will have to gauge for yourself what's the best place, where is the best place to reside while in campus. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends so that we can all have this knowledge together. Keep experiencing it with us. I am Stacy Wasiche.